right, guys, this is going to be the 132B helmet tutorial. I'm going to show you how to turn a 132B shell from this into this. So what I'm going to do first is, before I do anything with any drilling or anything like that, I am going to spray this. I can also, I haven't tried to remove this part, but I could probably remove this, wipe the inside with alcohol, get it all nice and clean, remove these straps. So you take this screw out and you remove the straps, and then you just put the screws back in. And, but yeah, I'm doing two more helmets. I'm gonna do one all blacked out, and the one that I'm gonna do for this tutorial is gonna be a flat desert earth. So the paint that I'm going to be using is actually this Brownell's Alumahide Magpul FDE. It's an epoxy paint that I got off Amazon, and this is the flat desert earth that they use to paint their rifles. This is expensive. This can of paint was $30, but this is what I'm going to use to paint this helmet. So it'll all be this color right here when finished. And yeah, so next step. So the next time you see this helmet, it's going to be flat desert earth. So one thing I wanted to mention was who makes this. And if you look at the tag inside here, you can see that it is made by an overflow company, Stamaco, or however you say that, which is basically working under Gentex Corporation's contract with the U.S. military. And Gentex is the same company that does OpsCore. So you know that these have been inspected and tested through the same standard as those OpsCore helmets. Now, here you can see I've already removed the two pieces of webbing. I put the screws back in, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can take this out. Probably pull this out. Yep. So this just pulls right out. There you go. Now I'm going to clean the inside of the helmet. I'm actually going to put some Velcro inserts inside when this is finished. But first I'm going to paint it. So let's go paint this helmet. All right, so there's the finished helmet. We're gonna let that dry for a couple hours before we move on to the next step. All right, so once you've painted your helmet, or you can leave it the green, just depends. I let this dry overnight. Don't rush this part, guys. You want your helmet to be completely dry when you start handling it and drilling it and everything. This helmet, I'm doing a flat desert earth. So helmet's been painted. I let it dry overnight. I removed the Velcro that was on the inside, and then I took out the pieces of webbing and put the screws back in. Now, the next step is going to be drilling the holes. With the drilling, you want to press very softly. What I'm going to do actually too is put some tape on the inside and the outside to help it prevent from fuzzing. So you'll notice as soon as you take the drill to the Kevlar, it's going to start nesting. You want to drill with very sharp bits. So for this project, I actually went out and I bought brand new bits, and I forget the name of these bits, but you can see it's kind of like a goldish metallic color, like a black. It's a dark gold. It's not the basic. It's not the basic gold like these. These are for drilling harder surfaces. I took the tag off. I should have kept it on. But you want brand new sharp bits for this project. So don't use old dull bits. Another thing that I wanted to tell you guys how to save a ton of money our FMA also sells these replica Wilcox Rhino mounts. The real ones cost $450, upwards to $500 for this. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. These are aluminum and they function just like the real ones. They're really great quality, and they even say Wilcox on them. They are almost identical to the real ones. They function just the same, and FMA sells these for $70. And I picked up two just because it was such a good deal. Same place where you get the FMA helmets, you can get a bunch of FMA replica stuff. I know it's not real, but you know what? For a budget helmet, if you need something, you don't have the cash to drop, you know, $2,500 on a helmet setup, you can't go wrong with doing it this way. All right, so the next step is going to be drilling the helmet. Before I drill though, what I'm gonna need to do is determine my spots for the rails. And like I said, you have options. You can line it up, you know, here and have some overlap. You can ride it high and use the bottom as a reference and do it this way. Just remember that these screw holes that you put in are also the points for your chin straps. So put the helmet on, try to find a point where it's going to fit your head well, and then once you have that sweet spot, using the different points as a reference, take a pencil, mark your holes, and do the same thing on the other side. This is extremely important to take your time on this, because if you have one rail in a position and the other rail is kind of off a little bit, you're going to notice it when it's on your head. So you need to pick reference points that are exact. Now these ones, I don't know what helmets you guys get, but these ones already come with little reference points. There's like a little line right here on both sides, so you can use those as reference points. The middle has, I mean, this button looks kind of a little off center, but you can use the back as a reference point, and you can also use these screw holes as reference points. So take your time, find out where you want your rails to go exactly, and then mark the holes to prep for drilling. Okay, so after moving the rails around on the helmet a little bit, I decided to actually use the existing hole as a point for the rail. There's going to be some overlap in the back. However, I'm going to see how this works out. So this is my second helmet I'm doing. I'm going to use the existing hole. Once I get that hole drilled in, I'm going to be able to move it around and kind of see exactly where I want it. Then I'll mark my second spot. I kind of already did a pre-mark right here, but I'm going to get that screw in right here. And then after it's in, I'll decide exactly where I'm going to put my second hole. So let's drill. For drilling, I'm going to cover some areas of tape on the back. With this one, it's going to be easy. I'm just going to make this hole a little bit bigger. So when deciding what bit to use, you take your screw and you're going to kind of match up. You don't want it, I mean, I guess you could go a little bigger, but this one is the 732. So this is what I'm going to use to actually make the hole bigger. You can see how messy that is. You see the nesting I'm talking about? That's okay though, because these bolts are pretty big and the bolt is going to cover that. You can see the tape does help prevent some of the nesting on the back. All right, so let's get these front rails in. So here's where I need a Dremel. So I dremeled the rail a little bit, which allowed it to fit snugger on the side, making room for that screw. And then I marked my second hole, which is on the back. I wanted to make sure that I cleared this rubber edge here. So you can see if I move the rail out of the way, this is where I'm going to drill. And you can see how long that took because I was pressing very lightly. You want to be very careful not to press hard, because if you press too hard, you're going to blow out the back. So I was going very lightly, just putting very light pressure, just to make sure that it didn't bubble out the back too much. So that turned out pretty nicely. And this nesting on the outside, it's going to get covered by the rail, so that's not that big a deal. If you do live in a really wet climate and you're planning on using this in the rain a lot, you would want to seal this. I'd recommend something like shoe goo. Just put a little bit of shoe goo on it and then seat your bolt. right, so there's the rail. That's where I decided to mount it on this helmet. A little bit different than the last one that I did. You can see there is a little bit of overlap, but I think it's going to turn out well. So now for the next one. So same deal. I dremeled out this side, I set my front screw, and then I line up the back, and I make sure that the back is even. Once I find the spot that looks even, I take a marker, I mark the hole location, and then I move it out of the way, and we drill it. So same thing, don't forget to tape it off. And take your time. There's no rush. Go very slow. All right, so the rails are on. Now it's time to grab your shroud. Typically you want these edges right here lined up with this rubber seam. I'm gonna find the center point and I'm gonna mark my holes before I drill. Okay, so I found the center point. There's a line. You can see that line right there, that's the center. So I line it up and then I mark my holes. So we're going to switch out bits to a smaller bit that will fit these screws right here. And that's what we're going to use to drill, taping out the backside. All right, so for the shroud bolts, I'm going to use a 1/8 inch bit. I got the inside of my helmet taped out. And now I'm going to, same thing, take my time drilling. I'm going to check my measurements again. Make sure these holes line up perfectly, which they do. And now I'm going to drill. There's two. These ones go through a lot easier because they're smaller. Now, you're going to notice that once you start drilling, it's going to grab and it's going to suck itself in. So again, just keep some light pressure on it and go slow. And then what I like to do is I like to pull it out as I keep it spinning. That way I create the hole just a little bit bigger. And the screws will go through easier. All right, so let's clean this up and get the shroud on. And obviously the reason why you want to do this first is because the Velcro is going to go over these screws. You can cut a little hole. I mean, you don't have to put Velcro over the screws. You can cut little holes and make it so they're accessible. All right, so there's your shroud. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure this is fully seated. I'm gonna tighten these up. And it just needs to be hand tight. You don't wanna over tighten it. You could also use things like Loctite if you wanted to. I haven't had any issues with anything coming loose, but that is an option. And there we go. So shroud is mounted. One thing you can do is grab one of your mounts, make sure it's level. That looks pretty level to me. One thing I did forget to do is these rails do come with these little bungees, and so I have to loosen it just a little bit to get that bungee in. And the reason why you want to stay above this line right here is because these bungees connect right underneath, so it's going to give you a little bit of clearance. So it's going to sit right there just like that. All right, so got the bungees on. These are going to stretch and connect just like this. And now what we got to do is line the inside with Velcro in the correct locations for the insert. So basically just looks like about 3 pieces will do it. And you should be good. So let's do that. So for the Velcro, you can get this stuff at Home Depot. This is the Velcro brand, heavy duty. It's rated up to 10 pounds. And we're gonna use the hook side because this has the loop side. So what you can do is just cut strips to cover both pieces. So you need 3 strips. And if you wanted, you could peel this off and actually insert the insert just like that and stick it down the way you want. But I'm afraid that if I get it that way, well, you know what? Let's try it. I'm gonna get this seated and then I'll tell you guys which way worked best for me to do this. Okay, so I went ahead and took the Velcro off and then kind of guessed where it was going to line up and then stuck it in that way. That was a lot easier. And so once you get this in, just press it down nice and firm, rub your hand over it, make sure that this is fully seated. And now you can put the insert in. Okay, so once you have the insert in, you want to make sure that the front of the brow is basically flush with the helmet, so none of it is showing. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take these straps and you're going to screw the straps onto where the screws are sticking through from the rails, just like this. So these are going to all attach, so I'm going to do that right now. All right, so the straps are on. What you kind of want to do is just basically unscrew it just enough so that it seats flush, and then once this plastic part seats flush with the helmet, then you can start tightening it again, and it'll grab the screw. So at this point, we have a functional helmet. The FMA helmets do come with Velcro kits. I used the Velcro kit on this helmet for a snow shoot, so I'm probably gonna have to order another one. If I try to peel this off and re-stick it to this, it's probably not gonna work very well. You can get the Velcro kits from OpsCore for 25 bucks, I think. You might be able to find them online somewhere else. I could run my own Velcro and just do, black or, a different kind of pattern if I want. Kind of like, a cross or something, just like this. Or you can just leave it blank, leave it bare, or you can put a helmet cover on it. Other than that, you can, now that you've got your rails, if you've got contacts, you can add on your holders, which I'm going to do right now, and then I'll show you guys what this looks like when it's all finished. All right, so here's the finished helmet. I was able to salvage the Velcro off the winter helmet, and it was still very sticky, so I was able to reuse it. These are contacts with fuzz covers and fuzz on the ears. Dynamic Fuzz sells these. He also sells these bungee cords, which help with cable management. These are dual comms. So yeah, that's it. This helmet is finished. The only thing that I would probably add is a counterweight pouch to the back, which I'll have to make. So I'll probably do one in either, this digital Marpat or Arid or Coyote Tan or something like that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys go out and get one of these 132Bs and give this a shot. It will save you a ton of money, and it gets the job done. So that's it, and I'll talk to you guys soon.